devastating security breach that was leaked out of the Pentagon. The most highly classified documents of the war.
The Times has 7,000 pages detailing how the White House has been lying about the Vietnam War for 30 years. The way they lied, those days have to be over.
That was a clip from The Post. The latest movie centered on the investigative reporting of the Washington Post. The Steven Spielberg film stars Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. With more on this, I want to bring in film critic Richard Crouse. Good morning, Richard.
Nice to see you.
Cannot wait to see this movie.
It's pretty fantastic stuff. So this takes us back to the late 60s. Katharine Graham, played by Meryl Streep. She is running the Washington Post. She's the first female publisher of a big American newspaper ever. And she's got a conflict. The paper's losing money. It's at the point at which we first meet her, it's a local newspaper in the D.C. area. Its editor, Ben Bradlee, played by Tom Hanks, is looking for a big story. Then the New York Times breaks the Pentagon Papers, the study of Vietnam that essentially said, you know, in its very basic way, this war is unwinnable, but we're just going to keep fighting it because it's too late to back out now. And it named names. Robert McNamara is all over it. The Nixon White House squashed it. They put an indictment against the New York Times and said, you can't publish this. Ben Bradlee looks at that and says, well, it says they can't publish it. Maybe we can. And the bulk of this movie is about laying their hands on the papers, going through them, and then deciding whether or not to publish. History reports,
right,
this isn't a spoiler, that they did publish it. And it's an interesting time because it's about freedom of the press. It's about not allowing the White House to dictate what will be published and what will not be published. It's
timely.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, this is why Steven Spielberg had another movie in the can, gets this script and says, we're going to put that one aside for a second, and I'm going to shoot this one quickly and get it out because we need to have this message out in the world right now in this era of fake news. Ben Bradlee says things like, you know, newspapers are for the governed, not for the governors. So, you know, politics should play no part in the stories that they publish. It's a really interesting and very timely look at the news business and why the news business is important.
Okay, so quick question before we move on to the next film. Does this movie then set the course for the future of the Post? Is that why today, even it's still one of the greatest papers with one of the greatest rivalries, the New York Times?
Absolutely. This is the story that turned them into a national going concern. It is the story that they thought, okay, if we publish this, all our investors are going to back out. We'll make an enemy of Richard Nixon. It goes on, and none of that happened. And it is the thing that established the Washington Post and Ben Bradlee as, you know, a big-time concern.
Fascinating. Can't wait to see it.
So 4 to 5 stars.
Okay, we've got some sound from the next movie, Phantom Thread. Let's play it.
Why are you not married?
I make dresses.
You cannot be married when you make dresses.
I'm certain I was never meant to marry. I'm a confirmed bachelor. I'm incurable.
So you like this movie, but you said not for everyone.
It's not for everybody, but if you're a fan of fantastic clothes, maybe, which
really?
I know you are, you'll get something out of it. This is Daniel Day-Lewis, being directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. They made There Will Be Blood together. Daniel Day-Lewis won an Academy Award for that. This is also Daniel Day-Lewis's last film, or so he says right now. He's retiring after this. He plays a dress designer in London in the 1950s. He is a perfectionist. He is obnoxious. He is riddled with insecurities. He is a very complex character. He meets a young woman named Alma, played by Vicky Krieps. She is a waitress in a countryside restaurant that he goes to, but she's also the perfect size and shape for his dresses. She becomes his muse, and it's not the first time that this has happened. Women have come in and out of his life, and you know, he kind of treats them like objects. They are, you know, useful until they're not, and then they're asked to leave. Trouble is, she doesn't want to leave. And so the first half of this movie is kind of almost like a Pretty Woman style scenario, only elevated to an art house point of view. And then the second half is more like a Hitchcock thriller. And I will tell you no more than that. But this is the very definition of a movie, I think, that won't be for everyone, but the acting is absolutely gorgeous. The clothes are amazing. The period details are sumptuous. You know, I just loved looking at this movie. And when you see these performances, you can be transported by them. That was Leslie Manville that we just saw on screen there. She plays Daniel Day-Lewis's sister. She is fantastic in this movie. The acting is of such an extraordinary caliber. It's really worth a look.
You're convincing us with every word.
It's fantastic. And no one can tie a bow tie like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay. So you gave this one.
I get that one 4 to 5
It is darn cold out there. Go to a movie, warm up.
Yep. Both.
Change your life.
Physically and metaphysically.
Ooh, Richard Crouse, thank you so much. You have a great weekend.
You too.
And you can watch Richard on Pop Life this Saturday at 8:30 Eastern and again Sunday afternoon at 2:30 Eastern.